Hello, everybody. This is BOF Live, and today's guest is Olivier Rousteing. And we have a lot to talk about with Olivier because the day after tomorrow, on Netflix, a documentary about him will debut. It's called Wonder Boy, and it details his search for his birth parents. And I think this is such an incredible story. We just saw that photo of you there looking like the Olivier that we all know. And you're sitting here in a beret looking very, very serious. But I can only imagine the changes that your discoveries have made for you. And welcome, Olivier.
Hi, Tim. Hi, everybody. I'm really, really happy to be with you today. And thank you again for being with you.
So, Wonder Boy, how did that happen? And why did you want to do it? Why did you want to have your search for your birth parents filmed in that way?
I think, Tim, you know me for so many years, but it's been a decade at Balmain. But there is one part of me that I never really, um, I didn't express. It was about my childhood, about the orphanage that I come from. And there's always a lack in me of trying to understand where I come from. So this search was so important for me at a certain age to actually show that, you know, I need to know my origins. I need to know where I come from, above all with all the topics that I'm fighting every day in fashion for. I think it was important for me to do this documentary and to as well show to people that there is one side of fashion that you see, but behind any fashion, there is a human being that has his own struggles. And it was important for me to show that and to deliver the message maybe of hope for many other generations.
Now, why did you decide now was the right time to do this?
I think I decide that as well because sometimes in fashion you play a character, you try to pretend, and I think I realized that maybe I get a bit more mature after almost like when I we started to shoot this documentary was 8 years at Balmain, and I think I feel like more grown up person that I could be proud of who I am and proud of my of just trying to show that was a moment of my life where I didn't play anymore a character of just being, a fashion designer for a really prestigious and glamour house, but as well put some truth as well as the human being that was really struggling about himself. And again, because I have such a great following on many platforms like social media, I wanted to give them as well the authenticity of the persona that they follow, and thinking now you knew the designer for many years, now you're going to know the human being behind that.
And how surprised were you? Because I know that in your mind you'd always imagined maybe you were from the French Caribbean or there were other places, and then to find out that actually your birth parents are from Ethiopia and Somalia, um, that I wonder what if you had to adjust to that reality, or what actually happened when you found out for sure.
I'm so proud, and I was so proud. The only thing that it's been, I think sometimes people doesn't get the research of why people is looking for their origins. When you know already your origins, you don't understand that you can have a lack of understanding where you come from when you know already where you come from. But me that didn't know, I needed it so much. And I was so proud when I discovered like that my dad was Ethiopian and my mom Somalian. The only thing that was really like tough for me is that I realized the age that she was. And of course you will see on the documentary on the 26th of June. But I think I was going to the orphanage trying to get some answers. And when I got the answer of the age of my mother, I was expecting to see, the writing and the word of a mom, but actually it was just a child. She was 14 years old. So I think it was tough for me because um, I was so proud to get an answer, but it was so tough. And as well, you will discover maybe in the way that she gave birth and everything, and you kind of, it's kind of some answers that feel tough as a human being to hear. But at least I discover where I come from. I'm really, really proud of it.
But I think to do it in that way, uh, on the one hand, it's quite brave. On the other, I mean, to be ready for, yeah, brave to be ready for whatever comes your way. You know, you did not know what you were going to find out.
No,
Um,
it
were
was,
there moments? Yeah,
Tim, it
were
was
there?
hard because this documentary, to be clear, like not many designers has the chance to have a documentary on their life, and I have to say that when the réalisatrice, the girl, the producer came and say, like, we want to film your life, your own story, whatever it's Balmain today and and several seasons that we're gonna follow you for fashion show. There is a reality as well, which is your birth and where you come from and all the answers and questions, and of course, we studied a documentary without knowing the end of a documentary. And I kept saying at the beginning, but usually, like, when you have a documentary or you designer, it's all you're dead or it's the end of your career, And it feels so weird when you're in, not the beginning of my career, but let's say it's not the end either, I hope. And so at the end, it was pretty difficult because I knew that every seconds of this documentary would not be controlled, And so whatever answers I will get, whatever cry you will see, whatever scream you will see, it was all like, at the moment, at the time, So
I mean, the idea of the Wonder Boy. Obviously, there's the notion of you being really young in your job,
yeah.
so you're a Wonder Boy in that way. And then there's the other thing, the boy who's been wondering, all these years. So I just I wonder what has changed for you knowing this, because I see you sitting there in a beret looking very serious, and your last collection, which we'll talk about, the resort collection for Balmain, had a very different feel to it as well, I thought. And I'm just wondering if you could tell me how you feel you've changed with
um
this information.
I think I think the biggest change of my life is that I always had to fight in my career, but not only, even in my childhood, to show that I was French, And this is something that I always been really, really pushing, because there are a lot of mentalities and above all in fashion where, there is kind of tradition to follow, many, many, I would say, cliche, And I think I'm the new France, and I think my last collection was definitely a melting pot of different cultures that were together. My French/Parisian values that I got from my education with my parents, my adoptive parents, but as well all my research and knowing that I come from like Africa. I'm an African/French designer. Made me feel so proud to say, this is as well the new Paris, the new France. And my Balmain last collection is definitely the melting pot, or all what I have in mind. And again, what I love about this collection is that the mix between a brand that is part of French values since 1945, built by Monsieur Pierre Balmain, with incredible French, sometimes traditional values, and as well me being the witness of my time, a witness of a generation, and saying this is the duality of those two worlds that meet each other and makes my last collection and what is Balmain today.
It felt to me like the storytelling had changed a little bit. I know that people who wrote about the collection made the observation that that sort of party pizzazz that you brought to Balmain was so much. It wasn't really in this collection. It was much more the sense of, I thought, thoughtfulness, and there was a narrative richness that felt quite new.
Yeah. I think this collection is softer, I would say. There is something about this collection where I've always been a guy that fights so much to push my topics and everything that matters. But I think now it's not anymore a fight. It's more, like, or it could be a softer fight. I think I get more confident with myself, knowing where I come from, trying to pretend less. As you mentioned, this may sometimes glamour extravaganza that I'm known for.
Right.
Um, it's kind of like calm down, because there is a reality about being myself, more peaceful, with myself, more quiet. And I feel relieved, I feel lighter in a way, like feeling free. And I think this is what you see in my last collection. There is a sense of freedom, of being who I am and not trying to pretend.
So could you say that there's a real you, and that you're getting close to a real you now, and all those years where you were this fabulous, extravagant creature was actually, when you're talking about, the performance a little. I mean, fashion is a kind of performance anyway, but um to be that was kind of you as more of a performer than a human being. Do you think that's a really tricky idea?
You know what, Tim? I think it's always been me. Whatever collection I have done has been always I've been always me. But as you mentioned at the beginning, I started my career at 24/25 at Balmain. And as every normal human being, you're grown up, and what you needed years ago, you don't need. And what you didn't need years ago, you need
Mhm.
today. So obviously,
Mm.
like I've grown up with Balmain, and I have to say that I was the Balmain baby, and now Balmain is my baby in a way. So I think that kind of switch happened, on this decade of Balmain. And I think this is the beauty of any designers. You have seen so many different designers around you, and you have seen that they evolved. But again, it was an evolution. It was not a revolution, because the first show that I have done till my last one, I always been me, just being different. And it doesn't mean that whatever the extravaganza and the glamour that you have seen, it was not me, but it was just another side of me. And today I'm showing another side, even when with my documentary, with my collection, I would say a softer side of me. But whatever collection I have done, were me.
I'm the fact that you took the Balmain Labyrinth print from the archive,
Yeah.
which it's about 50 years old, isn't it, that print? And that felt very significant to me, that you were ready to own that, and
Yeah.
that's why you could do it so authoritatively in the collection. You could take something that was very, very classic Balmain. As you said, Balmain is now your baby. You're not Balmain's baby. So I wondered if that was the case when you did that you felt you owned Balmain now.
You know what I felt, and I'm gonna tell you the real fight that I had since day one, to make sure that Balmain had an awareness all around the world, and it was not an easy thing, because 10 years ago, many people didn't know the name of Balmain, and I think my decade at Balmain has been trying to make sure that as much as I could do, making Balmain timeless. My first show, I was really worried that it might be just a firework, and I can do 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons, and after we forget my name, we forget the name of Balmain. And that was obviously something that can happen and happens often in fashion. But what I wanted to do during this decade is to make sure that there was awareness of the brand. So my first step was to create a strong community of people listening to the name of Balmain. And thanks to all my celebrities friends, thanks to social media, my Instagram, like the pop culture, I kind of integrate Balmain into a pop culture and making sure that whatever age you are, that you're 10 years old, 15 years old, or 50 years old, you will know the name of Balmain. And that was something that was a huge challenge that I made. But now that I think I made it happen and there is an awareness to the pop culture, I want to make sure that all my communities of people, all my followers and all my clients know that they don't buy Balmain only because it's part of me being witness of my time, but just let them know, for who didn't know, that Balmain is a brand from 1945 with such a strong heritage. Balmain had a monogram, Balmain had couture, Balmain is such a great brand for tailoring, house for tailoring, can do as a great, great, great craftsmanship. And so, and as well, had a great story about accessories. So I think it takes time, but I'm someone really impatient, as you can imagine, but I know when it's time to bring back something. And as well, the COVID and the pandemic, I have to say, um, kind of I try to reconcentrate what matters tomorrow. And me as a designer, but as well as a client, when I love buying whatever fashion or art, what I want to buy now is what feels timeless. I think what is trendy is not cool anymore. You want to buy values, you want to buy timeless, you want to feel that what you get is something that will stay in time. And so that's why, for these two reasons, first, awareness of the brand and making sure after that they know that Balmain it's in from 1945. Second topic, COVID pandemic, what you want to buy next, something that you feel will be forever.
Now I know how wired into your audience you are. You have the Balmain army, and you feel very responsible for them. But assuming that you listen to them, what is your sense of what you're talking about, how important timelessness is in your life, right after you've had this extraordinary kind of brush with time, in this quest of yours.
Yeah.
What are people telling you they're looking for, and how do you think you're reflecting that?
I think what people are looking for, it's buying not only clothes, but a universe. And I think more and more important tomorrow, house, brands, fashion, it will be relevant the moment that fashion take a side and not only sell clothes for clothes, but have a strong vision of what is the world today and express it. I think my customers, they love to buy the savoir-faire of the house. And they love to buy, I would say, from a pair of sneakers that's gonna be maybe, I don't know, from 300 euros to a t-shirt, 400 euros to an embroidery dress that can be 40K. And this is the strength of Balmain, is the stretch of the house. The age of our customer are really young, but we have as well older customers. And I think what is the beauty of Balmain is that stretch. But what they all love to buy at Balmain is not only the clothes, but belonging to a community. And I think that's what we learned as well during this pandemic. Houses that actually took a side, like decided to be loud about what they think and what they believe in, are the houses that have strong message that will be relevant tomorrow. And my customers, I know that when they wear whatever a Balmain logo t-shirt to an embroidered dress that can be 40K to the Balmain t-shirt that can be 300 euros, at the end of the day, they buy a universe and they are proud to be part of Balmain. But why they are proud? Because Balmain always been, I would say, a leader in a sense that we always made sure, no matter what, and sometimes going against fashion when fashion was really close-minded and not at all about inclusivity, that Balmain always been about inclusivity, about talking about topics that maybe fashion didn't want to talk about, casting that were different at the time than we started casting, diversity, making sure that we were actually giving to the world the reality of our world and not pretending that fashion was just a little bubble that didn't understand what was going on in the world.
So you've always had this sense of responsibility in your work, then, that as much as it was fun and glamorous, there was always this sort of spine of responsibility, and maybe in a way even activism.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like there's always a sense of activism. I think I think it's sad when we say this word of activism, because it means that we need to go against something. And I have to say that I think we should all be activists, in fashion, in the sense that we should all fight for the topic that matters and not trying to hide and close our eyes about a society that is suffering and topics that sometimes fashion didn't want to mention. And I have to say that I had really been what they call rebel or controversial, but I never been really controversial. I was just the one that wanted to integrate pop culture in my fashion. I was the one to say, can we change our front rows? Because the front row is not about one color, one is not about one skin color. I think all of that together, it was my fights from day one. And I have to say that those fights today, people start to hear me. But 10 years ago, many people, turn their back and just say, we don't want to hear that. So I think that's where fashion, to me, has been sometimes a platform to fight. Today, I don't think it is, because I can see that there is so much more inclusivity in fashion, and this is making me happy. It took too long, but again, because I'm a designer maybe from another generation at the time, because there were not so many designers in France at 24 years old. So I was touched by the society, what was happening around the world, where maybe sometimes fashion were just like, he's so young, why the fuck
Yeah, it's sort of patronizing. Yeah.
And above all in France, I would say, because weakness is all, French love the sense of like when you're young, you just need to learn. It's almost
Yes.
weakness. Where in UK and America, it's a bit different, because youth it's a synonymous of strength. Where France, it's always like, oh, you will learn, you will learn.
But do you feel you had a sense of urgency, though, being so young, and having these things that you believed in and wanting to change things? Did you feel the sense of urgency driving you on? Because the collection's always had that real kind of pulse of like, you know, va va voom, you
Yeah.
know.
I think, you know, the Vavavoom thing that you mentioned, it's about Paris because Paris is the city of lights. You know, you can see Paris as super minimal, like I would say, you know, like Pompidou, which is not minimal, but let's say like architecture that is really modern. But Paris is as well Versailles, you know.
Mm.
And I think, you know, it's always again the way that you want to see Paris. My Paris that I love was like maybe the era of the 80s, the bandouche, the incredible designer meeting each other, you know, like the glamour of like a party and the glamour of not party for just having fun, but party to just, you know, seeing the beauty and like seeing like, you know, there was a strength and sometimes the dresses were more armor than actually just, you know, for party. And I think Balmain has never been a fun brand. Balmain to me has always been a brand that was spreading glamour. And of course, you might see those dresses in a party, but usually when you take those dresses, there's so much craftsmanship that is not an easy dress. And I think this is my way of seeing Paris, of course. You know, the glamour of Paris is my own way. But again, there is a balance between, you know, the Eiffel Tower, Versailles, Pompidou, the obelisk in the Concorde. This is Paris, the melting pot and the beauty of different kind of architecture. Let's not just make Paris just one side of it, you know.
Do you think you were, in a way, you were trying to recreate those days of, you know, the with fashion was so heady in Paris, you know, it was so decadent and vibrant, and you know, the days of Montana and Mugler and Kenzo and, you know,
And
band and
around, you know, like
Upset and yeah, Castells and all that stuff. Do you feel that was sort of like Studio 54 is for Americans, you know, that you did you feel that there was that you missed it, so you were going to remake it?
of course. I mean, you know, like I think I'm not been obsessed by the 80s because maybe I didn't live them since, you know, I was a little baby.
Really
But,
good.
but you know, at the end of the day, I mean, I think it's so important to just follow your, you know, your passion and what you dream for. And of course, when I see a book when I was seeing like Grace Jones, you know, and all this glamour in Paris, you know, like Alaya's show or Monsieur Saint Laurent, you know, like there was such a strength of craftsmanship, of laboratory. I mean, today I think sometimes Paris is so associated to such a cliche of a Breton shirt with a denim pants and a flat shoes, you know, what like let's say not wash hair and just feeling like I'm la Parisienne and I'm so cool. But I'm just like imagine like in 10 years what you're gonna remember of Paris. Effortless for sure, but I mean boring as well.
So, excuse me. So you have been always been a man on a mission, then, really?
I I mean my mission has never been to I think, you know, I don't think I have, I think I had a mission just to make sure that I can change what I feel I want to change. I think every designers have a mission, no matter what is minimal, maximal, whatever color you like, whatever background you come from, we all have a mission. And I think the strength of every designer is when you have a mission and you try to spread it. When you don't have a mission, I think this is where it's kind of weak, you know, because fashion, like all the brands, houses, and designer that in a way survive, it's people that actually have something to say. And I wouldn't say that, you know, you might like me or not, you know, like this is not the topic, but at least I try to make sure that I could be a message for different generation beyond the aesthetic, you know.
Do you feel with what you've just found out about yourself that your sense of responsibility is sharpened?
Yeah, I feel so. You know, like the amount of followers that you have like on social media, I mean, you know, I just like have more than 6 millions of people that following me and having on Netflix my documentary in more than 200 170 countries with 30 subtitles. Of course, it's I wouldn't say it's a mission, but it's definitely a responsibility to make sure that the word, the message that you're gonna spread is something that will help people. So this is my responsibility to make sure that I can deliver a really beautiful and strong message to change maybe mentalities, to maybe not change them, but making a reflection. And of course, you know, like last year, for example, I did a little show, I would say a couture show on the Peniche on the boat to celebrate 75 years of Balmain. And I think 75 years ago, you would never imagine a designer like me being the head of a French luxury house.
Mm-hmm.
So at least, there's changes. And I hope that in the next 10 years, people would look at my show, or at least the persona that I am, and say, you know what, we had an example. Me, when I was younger, I didn't have this example of a Black designer in fashion industry. And, and I had example of what feels really French, you know. But today I think I'm trying to break those codes and say, you can be French the way that you look, is not about like how many families, generation are born in Paris or whatever. I think this is the message I'm delivering to people. And when I do little conferences in school, when I meet students and everything, they all tell me, you know what, you're an inspiration. And I think this is what is that maybe when you mention my mission, this is my mission, to give some hope and breaking boundaries sometimes.
Do you know, you said 136 countries?
170 countries.
170.
Yeah.
170.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that's a massive audience. That's a Netflix audience. I would imagine that not everybody's heard of you. So they're going to watch this documentary without really knowing who it is that they're looking at.
Yeah.
What do you think they'll think when what is the impression you think you'll leave with them?
I think it's an interesting way of actually discovering not only me but the house, because in a weird way, I think you usually discover the house from photo shoots, from magazines, from social media. But I think they will listen to the name of Balmain in such a different kind of context. I think it will bring a lot of depth to the house, not only because it's obviously not a commercial move, but it's as well showing that behind the clothes, behind the seasons after season, there is human being. There's an incredible team that I have that is almost like my family. There is this character, like this human being that is behind, that is struggling about where it comes from. And I think it's going to bring some depth as well to fashion, where sometimes a lot of people from Netflix might think, oh, this is fashion category, it's so superficial, I don't want to see it. No, I don't think fashion is superficial. Again, because if you have a strong message behind it, like whatever, this is my message, but so many other designers have really strong message to talk about. I think they will start to see fashion in such a different way. And yeah, 170 countries, it's a lot, because it feels like, the awareness of my story is going to be so spread into many worlds. But I mean, Netflix decides so I'm proud. So
oh, excuse me, my cough. It's true. I mean, fashion is an industry that is pretty dogged by preconceptions. So many people have a very fixed idea of what fashion is. And I always wondered about that. You're a designer with a very distinct signature. And I wondered with your signature if it was ever frustrating for you, that you reached a point. I mean, I am talking about this new collection as well here. You reached a point where you wanted to defy what people thought they knew about you.
No, I think it's the Tim, I think we all defy preconceptions. You as well, as a journalist, as a writer. I think the beauty of
Thank you. That's nice. That's nice.
No, it's true. I mean, all what you write is defying and challenging people to make understand your vision. And I love your honesty about your work, because I would say no matter point of view you have, you make sure that it's close to really what you think. You're going to write exactly what you have in mind. And the same way that I'm creating my collection, no matter the critics, no matter what people will say, oh, Tim, you criticize this show, but you shouldn't. It's the same way that when I do a collection and they're like, oh, you have done that kind of collection, but that is a minimal moment and you're doing maximal. I mean, the reality is that just stick to who you are and just feel free to be who you want to be. And of course, preconception is surrounded me, not only with fashion, surrounded me forever. Whenever I wanted to be a lawyer, in a fashion school, I had so many preconceptions about, oh, really, where are you coming from? Do you really think you can be a lawyer? Or yeah, now you're a designer, but I mean, come on, chill, and let's make sure that you're going to follow the rules. And me, I say, no, I'm not going to follow those rules. I'm going to create my own. If you like it, it's fine. If you don't, it's okay. when I was young, I was crying because of this preconception. Today, I love understanding who has preconception to actually try to defy them. If I can, it's great. If I can't, I leave, you know?
Did you encounter a lot of prejudice throughout your life?
Yeah. But I thank all this prejudice because I think that makes you strong. Of course, there is
Yeah.
a limit.
It made you a fighter.
But yeah, I mean, I obviously I want to fight against this prejudice, you know. Like even, you know, like I'm gonna tell you another story. Like when you say to your parents, few years, like let's say maybe like 15 years ago, when I told to my parents I'm gay, you know. Of course, there is prejudice and there is preconception of what is the gay world. So thank like people like whoever me or whoever, so many other people that can fight against those preconceptions to make sure that in 10 years, when a young guy will say, you know, I'm gay, maybe making sure that we had people like us in fashion to say, you know what, like let's break with this preconception. The same way with Black Lives Matter, you know, so many people had so many really bad preconception. And today we are fighting to make sure that those preconceptions are over, you know? So I think at the end of the day, yes, maybe on your, again, you're right, I'm on a mission. But again, I think those preconceptions can only help us to fight against it and making sure that we can just create a better future. And for that, we just need to keep fighting.
Now, you're celebrating 10 years at Balmain. You started at 24, 25. Now you turned 36 in September. It's still so young. It's incredible. Um, it feels now that it's interesting when you follow a career that started so young, you can see the maturing happening, you know. But how do you feel, aside from what you've learned while you were making Wonder Boy, what are the other changes that you can feel that have happened to you? The whole notion of Balmain being your baby is a huge leap, it seems to me.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think we are living in a world where there's so much changes, as you know. It's really rare to see designer that's gonna stay maybe longer than 4 or 5 years or 3 years, you know. And I have a feeling that I feel pretty great and blessed that I have achieved that decade with no matter the trends that happen, you know, like all that kind of like from minimal to maximal, from like now we're gonna wear sweatshirt and big bomber, it's about sneakers, after it's about denim. No matter what, like I feel really proud because in a way I stick to myself and I get really loyal clients. Of course, with the communication that I had around, we brought new generation understanding the brand. So I think at the end of the day, I enjoy every moment of this decade. From the first year, you know, I was just like this little Parisian French doing his fashion show. After I had the chance to do great collaboration to spread the Balmain awareness around the world, collaboration with H&M, opening more retails, opening my account on social media, starting to get a bigger community. Of course, from that, like as a business, I mean, I made sure that there were more categories in my collection. So it challenged me as a designer to create from again a t-shirt, a sneaker, a jacket in leather, like working on my tailoring, but still having my incredible women that were my craftsmanship that is really couture at the same time. So I think, you know, I mean, I just I grown up as a designer. I grown up as a from a boy to an adult, you know, and I think like if you feel like every day you have something to learn, this is the beauty of life.
Do you feel this is a turning point for you?
Yeah, totally.
And what happens next?
Oh. I think it's a turning point, of course, because it's a decade. So of course it's a turning point.
Can you imagine? Can you see beyond Balmain, or do you just imagine that that's where it's your baby now, and you can't leave your baby?
I mean, sometimes, you know, baby grows and there is no parents anymore, you know, and I hope for all the babies, you know, that they are not baby forever. But no, I think, you know, of course, Balmain is more than just a house that I'm working for. It's such a great relationship and it's so much love and it's so much respect. And again, I would say that they gave me the chance to believe in such a young age and with again maybe different values that different designer had. And I think I will always be someone that will love and respect the name of Balmain, the house. And, until I think, it's like a relationship, it's like love, until that love goes on and you have heartbeats every morning that you wake up next to your partner, you feel like, it will be forever. But we never know, as every relationship, we never know when it's over. But maybe it's gonna be never over and we'll always be together. Who knows?
I mean, when you said, well, hopefully always, I mean, I like the thought that love endures, love lasts. Um, you mentioned the beginning where you were doing the first few shows where, you had to impress on people this urgency and this, and kind of impress on them that you weren't just this kid. But in the light of everything that's happened in the last little while, people have really been reassessing what the future holds for them after the pandemic. What do you reckon your job needs to do now?
My job needs to be more aware of what the world is waiting from you than just a few people in your room doing your fashion show. What I'm saying by that is that I think what happened during this pandemic is that it has been a difference of power. Let's be honest, let's be clear. The power belonged to such a small crowd of fashion that were living in a bubble and kind of like again close their eyes of what was happening in the world. And today, I think with the pandemic, we realize that when you cannot do a fashion show and you cannot maybe have access to that kind of small elite, that small privilege of people that's going to be in your room, you're going to have to talk behind your screen and making sure that people that's going to watch you from a screen, whatever, they will get your message. And you understand that before you were talking to 600 people in your room, now you talk to 10 millions watching your screen. So I think your way of thinking start to become different because you're just like, what does really matter? What does really matter? What is your message? And this is something that has to be more relevant and current to what we are going on, what the world is going on and going through. I think the pandemic didn't make a revolution in fashion. They just accelerated problems that already were existing, So I think that's this, I wouldn't say the beauty, but that kind of like year of reflection made sure that designers will react in a different way to their audience, bringing topics that are really relevant for the world and not only for a few people in your room that don't care about what's going on in the world. So I think fashion's gonna just be more pop. And pop, let's be clear, there is nothing vulgar or not chic, Again, as well, chic has changed meaning during this year as well, I have to say. Chic, cool, modern, those kind of three words that fashion loves to use, that actually has changed. But I think the fact that now fashion is more pop means that it's going to be more popular and it's going to be part of a pop culture where it's about population. And I think this is the beauty of our new chapter in fashion. Covers of magazines going to change, topics going to change. What is modern is going to change.
Okay, how?
Because
because there are those words, you're absolutely right, that people just toss them out and they actually have a meaning, but people never think about what the meaning of those words is. So how do you think modern has changed, the idea of modern has changed over the last year?
Because I think people's not going to just be stuck with a neoprene fabric and just say, oh, that was so modern, this collection. Yeah. Actually, modern is going to take another kind of meaning. How is your casting? What is your vision behind it? How is inclusive and not exclusive and rejecting everything? I think what is chic? We have a really strong struggle in France about what is chic, because chic is not just a Brigitte Bardot cliche from the 60s/70s with Vichy, I think chic is not just like listening to Serge Gainsbourg and just feeling like, oh my God, you wear a double-breasted navy jacket and this is just chic, and how you look. Because of course, all those French cliches exist already. But I think today you cannot just say, oh, this was chic, and when you put on another kind of character, oh, this is not chic. No, this is a new chic. Maybe it's not the chic that belongs like 20 years ago to the fashion crowd, but it's definitely the chic of the future. The same way that what is modern, like you cannot just say that is modern because you throw a pair of sneakers on, you know. No, this is not modern. This is just today. So what is modern? This is going to be a real question. And
I,
sometimes I have seen fashion shows where people were like, fashion were like, oh my God, it's so modern, when there was like no casting interesting, no diversity, nothing. And like fashion was not even seeing the lack of diversity. How can you say this is the modern world when it's just about exclusivity? So I think all those topics are changing. But I mean,
yeah, I think that all there was a sort of superficial. Those words were used in a very superficial way, and I think that what is happening now, I hope it's happening. I mean, maybe it's not happening. Maybe it isn't happening the way I thought it would happen. When you said that there was no revolution because of COVID, and at the beginning, people were saying this is what's going to happen. This is going to be the change we've been looking for, and now you do see a lot of things going back to the way they were.
of course.
But the what was I saying there? The idea that they're not superficial terms. It's more about a state of mind now, and in other words, it's kind of deeper. And this is what I would hope that that when you use a word like modern, it's actually more of a challenge than a compliment in a way, because you want to make people think. And if we're not, if the last year hasn't made us think, my God, we're doomed.
Tim, it's totally true. I think I'm a bit disappointed sometimes about like
Me too.
how many talks we had like a year and a half ago, when we were all like, okay, fashion needs to change. And now is the pandemic, how are we going to do fashion shows? What's going to be the experience? How we can entertain people? What's going to be the topic of the future? And you can see in a weird way, fashion is still in this little bubble of comfort zone. And we go back to sometimes same thing over and over again. And we don't try to maybe sometimes challenge ourselves. And myself first, like I have to say, sometimes I dream so much bigger than what I can do. But I feel, it's gonna take time. But again, if fashion is not changing, fashion will not survive. And we see so many magazines now, more and more, not happening. We see we're gonna see less journalists, less stylists coming to fashion shows for the reason that we know. And I think this is gonna be a really tough moment for fashion. But if we make it relevant, and again, you say something really important, bringing some depth into those words. And I think the moment that we bring some depth, and the moment that you, journalists, will be more free to say really what you think for everybody, no matter what is the house, and you will feel free to be who you are and to work for your freedom of speech and of thoughts, it will completely make this fashion more relevant.
But do you feel that exploring alternatives to things like fashion shows over the last while, when you were making movies, for example, do you feel that was actually bypassing the traditional news bringers, bypassing the magazines and the journalists or whatever, the traditional way of doing things, that you could totally control your message?
Oh yeah,
Did you enjoy doing that? I mean,
so
could you?
much. So much. Of course, I did
Yeah,
enjoy
of
it, because I
course.
think as much as I love putting filters on my Instagram, I mean, at that time, I didn't have filters, at least to be who I want to be and express what I want to express, of course. Because again, they love to put you in a box. Sometimes, I have been, that kind of like glam fashion designer, whatever, with expensive clothes. But I think, thanks to my messages of my documentary with my social media, I could show something else. But this is sometimes the beauty of just using different tools, and platforms to just express who you are. And yes, it feels so, so good. But again, we need magazines, we need journalists, we need criticism. We just need authenticity.
Do you
And
need
one,
actual do you need actual physical fashion shows as well?
absolutely. Of course, we need fashion shows because I think we need you in our audience. We need real people to actually have the chance to see our work and the emotion as well of a moment. Of course, my biggest dream to have like would be like to do like 10 millions of people like watching my show in real. But this is of course impossible because I don't think my marketing team will have the budget maybe every season to give me like the Stade de France or whatever. But of course it's so important to do.
Dream big.
Yeah, maybe one day I will do it. Who knows?
Well, people have done that before, though, haven't they? But to me, that just feels, I don't know. I saw some incredible movies that designers made in the last while. I saw them communicating in different ways, meaningful ways, where the essence of their creativity, if you want to call it that, the purity of it was really on display.
Mm.
And it wasn't just what they did, but it was how they did it and why they did it. And it was all this incredibly illuminating package. Now, you don't actually get that in a physical fashion show. Maybe you need both. I know everybody wants to go back to fashion shows, but I was really loving watching some of those movies.
We need both, Tim. I think you're right. I think, for example, my last show that I have done with the airport and using like
Yeah,
all
yeah.
airports from Paris, I could not have done that if I had one audience because, of course, it will be like in a room. But I think you're right. We should do two things because the reality is it's as important to have the journalist next to us, the stylist, and our celebrity can touch the clothes, feeling the beauty of the craftsmanship. But it's so important as well the people that are behind their screen. So let's say in an ideal world, it would be good to do two different shows. Whoever had the experience, the real experience, whoever will watch from their screen. And that's going to be two different experiences. But I'm sure the future will go for that. Because I really think we need to have that physical fashion shows.
It
Fashion
would,
about
yeah.
touching the fabric.
Although you don't get to do, if you try to do that in a fashion show, the security comes and whacks you. You're going like this when the
I know.
models go
But
by.
at least you can see clothes, the fashion.
It's true, and sometimes you can see them better in a film. I've always, there's been this kind of debate in fashion all the time. Is fashion strongest when it lets you engage with something or when it lets you escape? Because the dream of fashion is this myth that people keep coming back to, that fashion makes you dream. In other words, it helps you escape. But also what we've seen, I think, and what is a very reassuring development is that fashion makes you engage. And it seems to me that you made the film at the airport. That's escape in a way, but also you're very driven by making your fashion engage with people with issues, with things that are serious in their lives.
I never been put it in a box, Tim. So I think you can be both. You can be like really engaging. You can be dreaming. You can be dreamy. I think Balmain, it's a dreamy house, and at the same time, it's an engaging house. But my airport, I'm sorry to say, it was not about just escape. It was as well really engaging because I wanted to say to many people that thought that maybe flying is so banal, and oh my God, we still have another fashion week and we need to fly and we need to fly. I'm like, and now look, you cannot fly anymore. So you cannot even come to my fashion week, to my fashion show. So, I think that was something really engaging as well, in the sense that let's not blame and always complain about, the toughness of, the craziness of fashion, because of course it's a crazy world. And of course there is so much pressure, but we have the chance to work with beauty every day. How lucky we are. So I'm waking up in the morning. I'm not saving lives. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a surgeon. I'm someone that just create clothes and try to deliver a message with, as you mentioned, really dreamy, because this is part of my French values, which is about couture and laboratory, and not sometimes, of course, for everybody. But at the same time, there is that really engaging part of me, which is, guys, I do those clothes because I want to make sure that I can make you escape. But at the same time, there is a message behind it.
Yeah.
The second thing that I wanted to let you know, I started at 24 years old and 25, and I didn't want to be the designer of sneakers neither. you know, because that's as well really important. I wanted to mention, I always made sure that I was what you call dreamy. Me is what I call couture, really, really intricate with such a strong craftsmanship. Because, you know, when you're so young, they feel, oh, he's going to just talk to his generation and sell t-shirts and sneakers. And that was not what I was pretended to be in my life. I wanted to be a couturier because this is my French touch as well. So I know how to do a double-breasted jacket, whatever it's navy, but I know how to sell sneakers and I know how to do a really important couture dress. And that's why I'm saying, I'm telling you that as well, because this was as well part of my fight. And again, because I was engaged and not only just a dreamy designer.
Let's say that's modern.
I don't know. Let's say that's just me.
When are you happiest?
When I work.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I hate not working. I mean, there is one thing that I hate is being bored. And I have to say that I think the weakness, the regret that I have in my life, or maybe the weakness that I have. And so if you watch Wonder Boy, you will see the documentary. I cannot stop working. This is my life. And this is something that I enjoy so much. I think this is my actually my real, really, really, really love relationship is my work.
Do you think people had this idea of you that if you worked hard, you also played hard?
I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah,
when you say play hard, it's like all dancing and clubbing.
yeah. It's this kind of the
I
va
don't,
va va, the va va voom, you know, the
I don't think this is, I think this is so another world.
preconception. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, to deliver all what we deliver today, you cannot not having a healthy and I would say um, like say quiet life. I mean, me, what is my routine is to arrive at 9 in the office, leaving around like 10/11 p.m., waking up early at around 6, boxing, doing my gym. And, you know, I think this is my life. And I know that sometimes all my friends are just like, can you go out? And I'm not like that. But of course, once a dinners once a while, you know, like when this is something. But yeah, I think it's a preconception of fashion. I mean, designers are not just like partying all night long, you know. Come on, how can we keep up with all those collections?
It's true, and that's one thing that the idea of burnout has been something that's become a lot more, you know, mental health has become something that's a much more of an issue in fashion. But I mean, how do you maintain your stability?
Being surrounded by people that are honest. I think you lose your mind when you don't have a great team. And to have a great team, you need to just assume that you will have honesty around you. Don't look for any people that will, sorry to be vulgar, lick your ass, you know, because I mean, this is the worst that can happen in life is when you are surrounded by people that fake love, just pretend that you're the best and not letting you know when you really have a problem. So I think me, I had the chance when I was young to start Balmain that I had such a young team as well with me that we were closer as a friend than actually just a team and the DA, you know, and the boss. So I think I had the chance to grow as a designer with really, really respectful friends, people that will let me know when I do something wrong, let me know when I will do something right. When I cry for critics when I was young, they will give their shoulders to me. And we are really loyal to each other. So I think it's so important to be surrounded by real people. You can, I think it's hard to have a burnout if you have friends and family around you, you know. And I think my team is like a family to me. The moment I'm going to lose my team, you know, I might lose myself, you know. So I think it's so important to be surrounded by great people.
You know, now you don't have to wonder anymore about where you're from.
No.
What keeps you awake at night now? What's the new thing to keep you awake at night?
I think my biggest dream in fashion in my life, and I have to say fashion and life, it's almost the same word for me now. Um, Being timeless in a way, making sure that I have done something in my life that will be remembered. So to make sure that maybe this word Wonder Boy it's a reality and not just like a
Uh-huh. So
documentary.
that keeps you awake at night. How do I live up to the label of Wonder Boy then? Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that, I mean, what does success mean for you now? You, as I said, you turned 36 in September. What you've already achieved is fairly major. Um, what does success mean for you now?
Freedom. I think whatever success, whatever industry you work in, you know, I think you feel successful when you're not frustrated. And to not be frustrated, you just need to feel free. So whatever, you know, I have wings and I fly every day. I dream big. And sometimes, you know, I feel sky is the limit. I cannot always, you know, make my dream happen. And I've done so many in my life that I'm really proud already. And I keep dreaming. The moment that I cannot achieve my dreams for whatever reason, to me, is not success. So the moment that I don't feel free is not success. The moment where I feel frustrated is not success. So, I mean, until I feel free and I feel that I can achieve my dreams, it's there where I feel I'm successful.
Olivier, thank you so much. I will be glued to Netflix on Saturday night.
Thank you, Tim. And I cannot wait to see you, really. And again, thank you for your loyal support from Decade, because you know me since that I'm such a young age, like when
Yeah,
I
yeah.
first show. And I thank you so much.
Well, thank you. What do you have on your fingers?
Rings.
Uh-huh. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see you on Saturday night on TV.
On TV.
Hey.
Thank you,
Bye,
Bill.